Camera looks all good. Alright. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Hope you all can hear me. Looks like the mic is working, yes. Alright, hello. Hello, Pyrrhus. Hello, James. Welcome to the stream. Hope you all both are doing well. Havoc, welcome, welcome. Wave to you, my good sir. Hope you all have had a wonderful day today. I am hoping to get this bad boy done today. Which is a bit of a bold statement, considering I still got the whole base to do. But I am willing to go the extra mile to achieve mine ends. Hopefully. So, let me first off see if I can correct a small issue I missed earlier. Yes. I have to apologize to Caboose. This is taking so long. I like to take my time on my commissions to make them look as good as possible, but at the same time, there's a certain point where you're just kind of taking too long, and I'm almost hitting that, so I do wish to have that resolved today. We're making pretty good progress, though. He's pretty much borderline done. Right now, the keys are to glue the final components together, like the head and then the cape. I have to apply the washes to the cape, and I have to do one or two touch-ups to the cape before I attach it. But otherwise, like all the bases are done. It's just a matter of doing highlights and the like. Speaking of, I want to get underway with one of the highlights. I'm gonna mix a little bit of Avalon Sunset with some Flash Concealer. Well, I had my last match of 40k, at least for a while. Ultramarines versus Ultramarines. You play Ultramarines? I pity you, my good sir. And you won by 2 points. That's pretty good, though. That's pretty good. Were your army compositions similar, or were they, like, very, very different? That might be a little too much Flash Concealer next in there. We'll see how it dries. If it dries, can always overcoat it. Smurfs v Smurfs, double the dead Smurfs. True, that is great entertainment. I'm sure all the Black Templars are watching on a plateau overseeing the battle with popcorn and joy. It's like, Brother Agrius. Yes, Brother Stuart? They killed another one. I saw two. Extra butt on yours, of course. Wait, doesn't the Codex say we can't do this? That's the Black Templars overseeing such a battle. I may or may not be a little exaggerative. Still. One side was Ultramarines, the other side was Ultramarines. Both sides were Alpha Legion, but which one was it? The shenanigans. Alright, so drying, it does look like it's getting a little more subtle with those highlight colors, which is good. That's what I want. I don't want it so overbearing it distracts. Yeah, highlight time is always the most stressful for me because it's where you have to be extremely careful. You have a lot of shit you have to redo. Thankfully on this bad boy it's not too bad. Let me adjust the blur here. That way you guys can see what I'm doing. So, how's everybody's days been today? Before I get too into this. By him being a worthy rival, I brought him a chief librarian himself. Ooh. Hey, Khan, you beautiful bastard, you. Doing pretty decent so far. Hope yours is as well. Today was pretty good. It was Monday, though, so, you know, I'm assuming you guys can figure out how that usually goes. Mondays are kind of rough on everybody. Because everybody comes in, they're like, I don't want to be here. It's when the I don't give a fuck energy is at its peak. The only other time of week it's at its peak is Fridays. So, yeah. Most of my coworkers came in and they were done before we even started. They were like, I don't want to be here. I'm like, well, I can relate, but I'm still here, so let's make a good show of it at least. Yeah, sorry, Mike. Wait, hold on, let me try and lower the brightness here, so see if that helps with seeing what I'm doing here. Because yellow is a very bright color, so can be forgiven for not making out exactly what I'm doing here. Yeah, I'm adding highlights, which will definitely create much more depth with the character, but it also takes forever to fucking do. Zegatron, welcome to stream. How you doing? Where do you work? I am a custodian. So not the fun kind for 40k. I'm a custodian. I do cleaning. I do yard work. Landscaping. Pretty much everything that the business I work for needs me to do, I do. So I do all the cleaning. I do all of the cleanup. I should say we, because I'm not the only custodian. So all of us custodians, we come in, we do all the cleaning, we do all the carpets, we do all of the dusting. We do pretty much everything that the building needs for maintenance. We also do pipe repair, minor electrical repairs. We do desk repairs. We do patchwork on the walls. We do mudding. We do spacking. Then we go outside, we mow the lawns, we mow the big fields. So that's what I am. I'm a custodian. It's like being a janitor, a landscaper, and a gardener, a amateur electrician, an amateur plumber, all combined, but with a fraction the pay. I don't mean to say we don't get paid well. We get paid. We get paid. You know, it's a good full time job. It's very solid pay, and it's got good insurance. So you know, pays my bills. It keeps me steady and going, and with slight money on the side to keep my hobbies up. Although right now I'm definitely saving some money. Sounds hard. It's pretty difficult at the moment. I mean, summertime makes it a lot harder because it's very hot out. It's very long hours. But it's not the end of the world. I'm sure there are worse jobs out there to have, and we get a lunch break. We get 2 10-minute breaks outside of the 30-minute lunch break, and otherwise we're just kind of on our feet moving around. But it's a pretty comfortable job, and I like it. Yeah, don't feel too bad for me. Hey, at least your rule are better than the tabletop version. My rule? Trying out Fallout 2 for the first time. Oh, okay, cool. Nice. How you liking it? Frank Horrigan is still my favorite antagonist in this series. Hey, too awesome me for you. Hey, welcome. How you doing? Did your IQ recover? Barely, but it's on its way. It's on its way. Got off work and I'm about to go back working on my little project. Ooh, nice. What's your project? The Marines Malevolent are best boys in yellow. Gonna have to disagree, but you're allowed that opinion, I'm afraid. By the way, since we're all here, question for you guys. So I recently did a video this morning about the Space Marine 2 leak and some potential news with that. Question I have for you guys, and kind of want to levy it at the chat, but I've got pretty solid answers from the chat on that one. But still, I guess I'll ask it here as well. How you guys feeling about the Space Marine 2 stuff? The leaks give you guys confidence, lack thereof? What you guys thinking? I think it's gonna be just in case it's not hidden underneath. Haven't seen links? Ah, okay. Uh, it's basically my own little giant robots in space setting similar to BattleTech. Mostly wanted to make a futuristic mouse tank. Ooh, cool. So you like modeling your own 3D STLs in like Blender or Maya or stuff like that, or is it less like that and more like you're just writing out the rules for it? Was it working to notice really? Okay. Waiting for reviews still. Even then, secondhand party sellers. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm still. For me, I'm still on the wait and see path. I am very curious to see what the final product will look like. Josh Bernal, welcome to stream. I thought it looked pretty good, but couldn't bring myself to keep watching. Want to experience it on my own time. Hey, fair enough, man. I understand. Totally get you. Yeah, for me, I'm still on the wait and see thing. Like, I'm gonna wait for a trusted reviewer or my community, like, en masse to be like, hey, no, dude, it's really, really awesome. But I'm gonna wait for a reviewer I trust to check it out and tell me, hey, is it what I fear it is, and it's just not really 40k in the ways we really want it to be, or the opposite, being told, hey, yeah, it's 40k. Uh, I am genuinely hoping it is like a faithful sequel to the first game, because I really do love Space Marine 1. This is where having a very careful hand is important. Hey, Tiki the how you doing? Wait, so there are other ways to paint models without ducking a model in paint? One could say yes. I'm writing the rules, but I got a bunch of old drawings from high school I can redraw. I'm also going to do a comic series before doing 3D models. Ah, okay. Fair enough. I do recommend you use Blender. It's the free software, and if you can learn how to use Blender, you can pretty much learn how to use any 3D software. Even though they have improved it a lot over the years, it's still the software I hate the most. Maya and ZBrush are my go-to 3D modeling software, which is unfortunate considering Maya is super fucking expensive. And ZBrush, it does cost a monthly fee. I think it's not too horrific. Last time I was subscribed to it, which was only a couple months ago, it was like, I say it was like 15 a month. Like similar, it was similar to like a Disney Plus subscription or something like that. God, this always makes me so tense. I did hear they fired the writer who was stirring the pot. If you get my meaning. Yeah, I did hear that too. That was over 2 years ago, wasn't it? So, assuming that writer got fired early on enough to not really affect the overall story too much, I should, there shouldn't be too much worry about the story being too bad. Excuse me. Why'd you get into this from Zigatron? 40k or YouTube or being a custodian? You never finished Space Marine? Oh, dude, you absolutely have to. Well, not have to, but you absolutely should. It's such a fun game. And its ending is a lot of fun. 40k. I got into 40k many, many years ago. I was, shoot, 13 at the time. Technically, I had an earlier point in my life where I interacted with 40k. I just never realized it, but I guess that doesn't count. So when I actually got into it proper, I was 13 years old. I was in high school, and me and a friend were just kind of shooting the shit, talking back and forth. There was a balcony that looked over the cafeteria. We were just kind of shooting the shit, and we'd finished our lunch. And I look over him, and we're talking about sci-fi universes. And I told him, listen, man, I've gotten into like everything. And he's like, oh, really? You're into Star Trek? I'm like, yeah, I've seen all the Star Treks, even the original series. He's like, Deep Space Nine, Deep Space Nine, yep. Voyager, Enterprise, I've seen them all, man. He's like, okay, Battlestar Galactica. I'm like, I've seen Battlestar Galactica. I really like it. Stargate, seen Stargate. And we were going back and forth. And finally, he's like, all right, what about 40K? And I went, what? He went 40K. I'm like, what the hell is 40K? He's like, well, how about this? You come over to my house this weekend on Saturday, and I'll show you. I was like, okay. So I went over with my mom's permission. We went to hang out. We were going to spend the weekend. I get there, and he brings me to his basement, him and his dad's basement. And down there, it's just a huge, like, shop, effectively, of all their 40K stuff. Everything from as early as, like, 4th edition and 3rd edition stuff. And at the time, I think it was, like, also 5th edition. Like, a bunch of 40K stuff everywhere. Those shit ton of orcs, some space marines, some codexes, and a bunch of the books. And I was just down there and I was marveling at the it was a pretty large open basement, right? Like concrete floor, open concept with a couple of pillars holding the place up. And I'm sitting there and I'm just looking at, well, I'm standing there first, and then we sat down at a table. But I'm sitting there and I'm like, what the heck is this? And he's like, this is 40K. I'm like, it looks like toys. And he's like, well, it is, and it isn't. And then he sat me down. He pulls open an Orc Codex. If I'm recalling correctly, it was the 3rd edition or 4th edition Orc Codex. He pops it open and just starts unloading on me every little bit of lore he could think of. None of it really in order, and he's just like overloading me. As someone put it in the chat one time when I shared the story before, he basically made me drink at a fire hose. And he just starts sharing every single little detail about 40K, and I'm flabbergasted, and I'm like, this sounds so fucking cool from what I'm able to make out from your ramblings. And I was fascinated. I was absolutely enthralled by everything it sounded like. He showed me the miniatures. He showed me several of his little orc boys. His Gretchen, and I'm like, this is so cool. Why have I never heard of this? And he's like, oh, well, it's not that popular. It's a British thing that, it has kind of been imported and it's been exported here to the US, and it's a popular game over there. I'm like, but when I've heard of it from other media, then like I watch Doctor Who and stuff, he's like, oh, well, not that popular, but it's more popular there than here. So after, like, I want to say the sun was up when I got there, and when we finally got to a point where he took a breath from the ramblings, the sun was out. Like, it was getting dark. It doesn't seem like a young kid sort of thing. Why not? I don't agree with that at all. I mean, you can introduce kids to 40K pretty early on, especially if you do it through the miniatures in the game itself. Like, some of the lore and some of the novels definitely are not for kids, but you can totally introduce a kid into 40K with ease. Like, yeah. Like, I plan on introducing my kids into it. It's difficult to explain. I don't think so. Like, I just don't agree with that concept, I suppose. It's perfectly fine to get kids into 40K. Just start out with what's kid-friendly, right? Start out with the miniatures. You can get kids into the miniatures and painting the little figurines and assembling them. That teaches kids, precision tasks. It gives them a nice little hobby that, granted, is expensive. But, with 3D printing and stuff, you can make it cheaper. There's plenty of things you can do with kids in relation to 40K that's totally welcoming. So, I don't see what your hang up is, I'm afraid. I don't know. I got into 40K just fine at 13. What I mean is, I am surprised there was a preteen into it. I don't see why. I mean, there's plenty of things that appeal to a preteen. It's dark, it's edgy, it's that's just like the setting, obviously, but the miniatures, like a lot of kids like myself, you like artistic things to get into. You got like little precision assemblies and models and stuff. I mean, maybe you just didn't hang around cool preteens, I guess, when you were a teen. I don't know, but for me, I had no trouble getting into 40K, and Dan was into it since he was a little kid. His dad got him into it because his dad was a major 40K guy. Got him into it when he was like 8, 7. So I don't see what would be the surprise. I mean, I'd be in more of a stance of, like you said, it was something his dad got him into. Yeah, but your dad can't force you to get into something if you don't already have a level of proclivity with it, right? And I think plenty of preteens and teens would get into it. Now, granted, not every teen, right? Like if we talk about the jocks, we talk about the athletes, we talk about kids who are have more of a proclivity for like outside or extroverted activities. You're probably not going to get into 40K as a teen, but like if you're a nerd, a geek, a dork, anyone in our sphere, yeah, like what's not to get into? And it's got artistic elements for people who like to paint and do assembly. If you just like fun stories and lore, there's plenty of novels and books. If you like military history or just like military vibes, it's got lots of that with the books. If you like these operatic, great like stories that have this huge philosophical element to them or get the name like the brain jogging, there's plenty of books in the Horus Heresy series. Like genuinely, it's harder for me to think of things that a kid or a teen, I should say, wouldn't like. It's far easier to point out what a kid would like. Like, I can think of many things that appealed to me as a teenager. Like, as 13, listening about the orcs, looking at the models, I fucking fell in love, like, immediately. Granted, the price tag kept me away from collecting the models for a few years, but I absolutely loved it. You said it's fairly niche. Compared to Star Wars, there's no cartoons or kid-friendly Legos or kid-appealing characters. Many of the games aren't exactly a big premier games, etc., etc. Well, there's one of those you are wrong on. You're totally right when it comes to the kid-appealing characters or the like cartoons. There's been no cartoons. You're totally right there. Where you're absolutely wrong is the games. Because actually, and my co-hosts on the Voxwork podcasts, like Nico and Nathan, and a bunch of other people I've gotten to know over the years who got into 40K, most of them got into it because of video games like Dawn of War 1, Space Marine, and a couple of the other video games that have come up over the years. I know a guy who got into it because of Fire Warrior. So, I'm like, did you like you said you like where were you the person who said you didn't? Yeah, I never finished Space Marine. You played that game. What about that isn't a video game that would appeal to teenagers? Not even teenagers, like kids would play that fucking game. Played Dawn of War 2 Retrib in my teens and that helped facilitate me. Yeah, there you go. So there absolutely is video games that get people into it. Reminds you of your dad getting you into comics? Hey, there you go. See? Before the MCU, which is a better time to get into it, to be honest. The MCU has done a lot of damage. Not it's not all bad. The early MCU stuff, like, is a reason it had popularity, but the recent stuff and the tropes that they've kind of created and replicated a million times over. Yeah, the MCU has done a lots of fucking damage, lots of damage. Yeah, for me, comics I also got into, but that was something I got into carefully here. Just gotta make sure I don't nick. There we go. I didn't know many kids who knew much about Marvel or DC the way I did back then. I'm sorry to hear that, man. For me, I was lucky with some of the crowds I hang out with as a kid. There were plenty of nerds when I was growing up. Still less nerds than there were like the other types of kids, right? Like the more what's the term? More socialites types. There was definitely more of them than there were of us, but yeah, there were plenty of nerds I got to hang out with as a young lad growing up in high school. Yeah, I'd say a good majority of people who are into 40k nowadays got into 40k because of one of the video games. And the video games did a massive chunk to advertise 40k to the masses. In recent years, for better or for worse. Reading Invincible, which was definitely not appropriate for your age. I could believe it. Funny thing is despite my love of comics, I've been pretty restricted in like what comics I've gotten into over the years. I was big into the X-Men comics and Spider-Man comics, but I never got into many other comic books, like genres. My sister was big into Batman growing up, but we definitely had very different tastes in the comics. There we go. Come on. Highlights. Always a stressful task. Edward Bailey, welcome to stream. Howdy, Asmo. Love me some Imperial Fists. Love to hear it. Yes, this is a commission from my buddy Caboose. I got this and Rogel Dorn to do for him, and then there's two others I gotta find good proxies for. Yeah, I got a series of commissions lined up. I had like 2 or 3 nerds in school growing up. High school had a couple more, but it was a different neighborhood. Oh, really? Most of them are jocks. Yeah, I can believe that. And I was pretty lucky, I guess, with the school I went to. There was a decent population of nerds. It wasn't again, it wasn't overwhelming, but all of us kind of quickly found each other and hung out. You know, we played D&D, some of us. Me and Dan talked about Star Trek and 40k after he introduced it to me. All of us ended up, for the most part, going to a secondary program connected to our high school that was a vocation school, where a lot of us ended up learning like 3D arts and 3D design and stuff, so we could like sculpt our own stuff. Granted, we didn't do that because of like 3D printing, because at the time 3D printing wasn't as much of a thing as it is now. Certainly not SLA printing, but we all wanted to become video game artists. That just didn't end up working out, you know? Well, I say that. A couple of my friends I graduated alongside actually ended up apparently getting jobs at Blizzard, but I heard one of them got fired. I didn't hear that from him, though, so I don't know if that's true. That might have been rumor. The other one I heard from, and they quit working at Blizzard. I can't remember the exact details. If I recall correctly, it's because they said the environment was kind of rough. At ActiBliz, oof, yeah. I ought to pick his brain about that sometime, but at the same time, that was a few years ago, so probably hope they kept their hands to themselves. I mean, they were young going in. I don't think they were one of the people doing that stuff. And speaking as someone who knows them, they're very shy people. Like, I doubt they would have been the sort who were involved in that. I think it was more of a case of this is just speculation though, I don't know, but I think it was more of a case of one of them quit because of the workload. They just couldn't keep up with it, and the other one got let go, but it wasn't because of any bad behavior. They got let go because they wanted more money, and they were trying to argue for a better, position, and they got let go. Ooh. Hey, Nico. Speaking of comics, I've been reading Judge Dredd and Rogue Trooper. Ooh, nice. Some good stuff with a sprinkle of grimdark. Nice. I gotta check out the Judge Dredd comics. I haven't gotten into those. Excuse me. Not a very fun place, it seems. No, not by the looks of it. I mean, I'm glad I never ended up actually trying to get in. The closest I did was I did some indie game development, but I think most of the stuff I ended up working on when I did indie, I worked mostly in just like developing assets by commission for a few years right out of high school. I stopped doing it because it was frustrating, and some of the time, a lot of the time, people would like approach and be like, "Hey, can I like pay you with like what was it, fucking shares in this, or can I like oh, if like the game gets successful, you get an actual payout." It's like, nah, I'd like a flat fee. You know, no disrespect, but I don't know this game is gonna get off the ground, so I'd rather just get paid outright, please and thank you. I know, wasn't really my thing long term, that's for sure. That sucks. I wish I had money to pay people. I mean, yeah, that's why you gotta have a day job. I mean, I'm assuming you have one, but you gotta have like a day job, and you gotta have other stuff to, kind of boost your income on the side for you to have enough to pay people. For me, like whenever I commission artwork for the tabletop game I'm developing, I have to save up for months on end. And sometimes, if I can afford to do it, get some overtime in at my job, try and find some extra work here and there. That's why I do. That's why I do mini commissions as well, because it helps to get more money on the table. Day job or Kickstarter or both. I mean, I wouldn't rely on Kickstarter. I think it's better to just have a day job, because there's Kickstarters are a dime a dozen, and I wouldn't rely on that. I wouldn't rely on luck for you to be like the one that stands out that people support en masse. Of course, you can combat that luck or lack thereof with advertising. You could find a YouTuber or somebody online to advertise your stuff. But again, personal recommendation is just get a day job, and if you have all the resources and you have all the everything worked out for a Kickstarter, set one up, but keep your day job. Don't rely on a Kickstarter to be anything more than a chance at helping you get things along. I gotta have capital. Unfortunately, that's how business works. You gotta start out with something to work, some kind of money to work with. It's the nature of the beast. Successful Kickstarter requires online following and a presence. Yes, it does. That's why, like, I would like personally, I wouldn't bother with one right now for myself. Like, if I grew much bigger, or if I had like a some backing, or from like a larger content creator, I'd feel more confident in like throwing my shot. But I am tiny, so I'm just relying on the donations I get from streams and stuff, and saved up money on the side to continue funding my own projects. That's why things are slow with it, but that's again, I knew that going in. I knew the length of time it was gonna take. Plus, I found a day job that, I could tolerate. Mini Kickstarters are also sort of like advertisements from investors. Often, if they are popular enough, they will attract them. If you want investors. For me, like, investors are a double-edged sword. On one hand, yeah. Oh, Adam Wolford, thank you so much for the super chat, my brother. $10, much appreciated. You missed a spot. TV series ideal. You missed a spot. I mean, I missed many spots. I'm getting to those spots. You missed a spot. TV series ideal. Gilliman and Russ living in modern day, trying to keep a low key. Keep a low key. Gilliman keeps quitting jobs every time the company starts to become too big, and Russ runs a bar. That would be fascinating, especially since they're both like 8 feet. No, both like 9 feet tall. So you just walk into the bar, you're having a bad day, sit down and go, "Barber, can I get a drink?" You look forward and you just see one pectoral set of Russ. You just look all the way up. And he says with a booming voice, "Will that be whiskey, young wolf?" "Yeah. Can you make it a double?" Actually, it's more like this. "Yeah, can you make it a double?" Totally blend in. That does sound that sounds a little bit like a TTS kind of skit though. Okay. If they live in New York, like every living in modern day adaptation, I could see it working because New Yorkers don't care. True. Like that bar example, it's like the guy would be like, "Yeah, make it a double." Gets a drink, leaves for half a second, looks back, go, "Wait a minute. Nah, I don't give a fuck." Walks all the way home. Investors are a double-edged sword, but unfortunately a sort of necessary evil. To an extent. If you're absolutely desperate to get it off the ground and you want a consistent source of investment and money, yes, investors are a necessary evil. If you're more willing to to bite the bullet on the expenses and take the time to do stuff and again, invest the money on your own fronts, you can work without investors. It's a lot more personal sacrifice if you do so. So it's a necessary evil if you're not able or willing to do the excess sacrifice. Which, don't get me wrong, I perfectly understand there are plenty of people who are in those positions. They absolutely have a dream, they want to get off the ground, and an investor comes up and says, "Hey, if for the IP rights or for whatever they want, we'll make your dream a reality." For a lot of people, that's a deal from the devil they cannot refuse. And I totally get it. Trust me, I do. For me, I'm lucky I have not received a devil's deal. And it would take a pretty high number and a pretty good deal for me to take an investor. Because once you sign that contract, you don't have control anymore. Just know how to. Well, it doesn't really matter. Like, here's the thing: the whole point of investors is it doesn't good matter really how good lawyer. Yes, lawyer up, absolutely do that, but it doesn't matter how good of a negotiator you are, because at the end of the day, who holds the influence, who holds the power in the deliberations? You are the person without the money. You are the person without the resources. You are the person without the thing that is needed. The other party has what you need. Therefore, they have leverage. So they're not going to agree to a contract that gives you any kind of power or control. They're going to make it show so they have control. And oftentimes they're going to try and hide it in the subtext. They're going to try and hide it in the contract. Like, I don't want to make people afraid of investors here, but you got to keep that in mind is they are out to make the best possible deal for themselves. It isn't a great deal for them to put down an investment and then do so, but have zero control or influence or long-term royalties on the thing that they're investing in. That's just not beneficial for them. So it's a back and forth to try. You can work things out with investors to find a healthy middle ground, but you always have to give something. There is a 0% chance you are going to end up with an investor that doesn't make you give up some kind of control or influence or rights to whatever it is they're investing in. That's just not practical. If you have your own, if you already have the business up and running, you already are making money, if you're in a position of control and power for the thing itself, that's different. You have a lot more leverage. But if we're talking like you're a Kickstarter bro, getting approached by an investor, you got nothing. And they know it. So they're not going to walk away with anything short of the most optimal deal they possibly can. Adam Wolfer, thank you for the $5, man. Thank you, thank you. Gilliman keeps panicking. He keeps thinking he is changing history, and Lehman gets arrested for making alcohol that kills people. Are you kidding me? That's in 40K as well. Well, he doesn't get the arrested part, isn't, but he definitely does make alcohol that kills people. Fenrisian Ale. Not even once if you're not from Fenris. Nico, personal nitpick on Space Marine 2. A Black Templar and Space Wolf die as part of the tutorial. I know it's part of the plot, but it means a potentially interesting Death Watch team got replaced by Blueberries. Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty disappointing. That was sad. Because they even had the old school armor and the helm. They were firstborn Marines, and then yeah. Spoilers, by the way. Prior warning. Trying not to give away too many details there. But, yeah, I know what you mean, Nico. From that intro sequence. That was sad. But Primaris is what they're trying to sell. And they're retiring the good old boys. Metaphorical for GW killing off firstborns for the Primaris. Yeah, ironically, yes. So it is a pretty fitting metaphor. Sadly. All right. What faction do you think gets the least love from GW? Right now, probably Eldar. Although, is it? Yeah, I'd probably say Eldar. Yeah, because they've gotten the least amount of like model range updates and overhauls. They're. I will say this though, rules wise, fucking Eldar get a shit ton of love because they are in 10th edition. At least at the beginning of 10th, it might have changed by now for the FAQs and stuff. But beginning of 10th, they have a fucking broken ass meta list. games rules wise. But otherwise, like models, artwork, stories, everything else, they're pretty much left in the dust. Like every other faction has gotten way more updates and love in TLC than the Eldar have. And granted, I would argue it's because the Eldar haven't been attractive enough for most people. I mean, most people get into, like the Imperial Guard, or Space Marines, or hell, like even if we just restricted to Xenos, there are unfortunately more Tau players, I think, than there are Eldar players, which is fucking weird to me. Don't even get me started on ranting about that. But regardless, they've gotten a lot less love than their counterpart factions. It's pretty one-sided in that regard. And granted, GW could make them a lot more interesting, and why is that weird? Why is it weird that the Tau are liked more? It's because the Tau really don't fit 40k. Like, they're a very odd faction within Warhammer 40,000. They are... I still stand by. They're a faction that do not belong. Granted, they're not the only ones. I would say, especially aesthetically speaking, the Leagues of Votann don't belong either. When I heard they were bringing back squats, that was a huge disappointment of what we got instead of actual proper squats. Personally, I would say. I know a few people who do like the Leagues of Votann, though. But for me, it's just... Both the Tau and the Leagues of Votann aesthetically do not fit 40k. They look entirely out of place. The Leagues of Votann look like they're the Deep Rock Galactic Dwarves with StarCraft technology, and the Tau look like they're straight out of some weeb game. Like, it's totally out of place. What makes them not fit? Well, they're not grimdark. They're hyper high-end technology. They're not gothic. They're not rough, rugged, or jagged around the edges. Every other faction is. And people often say, oh, well, the Eldar, they're pretty high sci-fi too. Yes, but they still have a rugged aesthetic to them. They're still... Yes, they're very alien, but they still have a gothic vibe to them. It's not as strong as other factions, granted, but it's enough that they still fit. And plus, their stories definitely fill in that gap of that grimdark element. The Tau, narratively, like, they've bent over backwards over the past few years. I think it helps differentiate them. It does, but it differentiates them too much. Like, they don't belong in the setting. Like, that's how much it differentiates them. Yes, it makes them unique, but they just don't belong because it's such a deviation from the aesthetic of the setting. A huge aspect of 40k is everything has been done. Everything, technology is on the decline, and that's for all factions. All factions are suffering. They're not doing well. They're not excelling. It's the grim dawn before the final darkness. Like, that's what 40k is. That's what a grimdark is. It's gothic, it's fucked, and there isn't a hope of victory in the future. These final battles in this dark universe are just that. They're the final lights fighting to stay bright just a few eons longer in a hopeless galaxy. That's what 40k's theme is. The Tau are antithetical to that. The Tau are futuristic, they're developing, they're expanding, they're advancing their technology, they are growing and getting more powerful. They are antithetical to the very theme of 40k. So are the Leagues of Votann, and so are the Primaris. So are a lot of things that they've added since earlier editions. So 40k has infinitely lost its grimdark identity, and you can pretty sorely point to several factions being a huge problem children for that. That being, again, the Tau. The Tau just don't belong for those elements. And also, Leagues of Votann have been adding to that issue, and the Primaris for the Space Marines themselves have added to that issue, because they're super Space Marines now. Am I familiar with the Yuzhang Vong in the Legends Star Wars timeline? Yes, I am familiar with the Yuzhang Vong. And ironically, they are more fitting for 40k than the Tau are. But yes, I'm familiar with the Yuzhang Vong. Sad that's Legends now. But so many good things were turned into Legends for Star Wars, so. Yeah, if we could switch, like, if we could give Star Wars the Tau and we could take the Yuzhang Vong, that'd be fucking awesome. Please. Necrons are a shadow of their former glory. Yes, again, like that's why Necrons do fit the theme as well. Like it's this theme of decadence, this theme of decay. Everything is fucked. Like advancing technology, coming to unity, hope for the future. These things are dead in 40k. They're supposed to be anyway. Every fight, every battle, every world fought in 40k, like everything in 40k is just a constant fight against the inevitable. Chaos is supposed to represent the inevitable doom of all life in creation. Like it's all an end. Basically it's a, some would argue it's a feudal battle. But that's kind of the charm of it, right? Like it's such a dark, horrific time that it's all kind of like the light of creation is just about to blip out of existence. But before that blip out of existence goes, it's trying like the Space Marines and the Imperium, right? They're trying to go out fighting and having the galaxy remember them for eons after all of them have been eaten by the Tyranids, crushed by orcs, or beaten to a pulp by insert any enemy here. Like they are fighting a hopeless battle. Welcome to Caveman. Welcome, Caveman. Been a minute since I've caught a live stream. I'm going to be making a lieutenant into a Black Templar. Nice. Welcome, Caveman. Did you go by a previous name before, or have you always gone by Caveman? Either way, welcome. But yeah, that's kind of like the theme of 40k. At least that's what it used to be. It's become less of that in the more recent years and editions. Which, in my opinion, is to its detriment. But that's me. Silver's Scratch Build Productions. Welcome. How you doing? Hope you're having a good day, Silver. Abhuman Theskrug. Welcome to the stream. There is no Disney canon, only heresy. Star Wars? That is true. I actually saw the final episodes of the Acolyte show. What a piece of garbage. I'm sorry, like, listen, I'm one to sometimes accept the arguments like, hey, maybe it's not for you, but it's for me. Yeah, fair enough. But seriously, to the people who like Acolyte, why? I want to know what about it is even remotely likable. The only thing I can think of is the lightsaber fights, and even then, in my opinion, everything in the prequels and the Clone Wars cartoon absolutely blows any of the choreography in that show out of the water. So that's like but it's at least decent. But that's like it. Everything else sucks. And that show was hot garbage. I have no idea what Leslie Henlon was fucking thinking. Like, even from... It's not even a good show from, like, a political standpoint. Like, if you're trying to spread a message, right? What's the message? Terrible writing? Like, we knew that, but okay. It's... Oof. God, the Acolyte. Wow. I was impressed. I was impressed. That was just bad. There's bad and there's bad, and that was bad. Alright. So we've done our first round of highlights on the yeller. Fafnir Bane, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? He said it was Frozen meets Kill Bill. Really? Hold on, is that true? Did she actually fucking say that shit? Seriously? Am I being punked? Oh, by the way, Lady Runsong, if I didn't welcome you earlier, my deepest shame. Hello, how you doing, lass? I went into it just to humor some friends, and I came out feeling legitimately dumber. I could feel the same. Yeah, that's how bad writing was. It's pitiful. It was truly pitiful. Frozen meets Kill Bill. That sounds like a bad idea. So if she said that in the writing room, someone should have been like, "Ma'am, that is a terrible fucking idea." That those two things is the reason they aren't together and don't overlap in any way. Oh god. I can see the Frozen part, I guess, a little bit with the twins. But what was supposed to be the Kill Bill? I don't know. Like that's what? What about it was supposed to be Kill Bill? What delusion am I missing? You well, like awesome. Always good to hear. Always good to hear that you're doing well. It's so stupid. That sound again. That sounds dumb. Like, how do you say that with a straight face? Hurried by the Emperor, pick two things that don't belong. Yeah. The fact that it involved a revenge plot and had sword fights. So many things have that same descriptor. Revenge plot and sword fights. Let's see, Gladiator. Troy had a revenge plot and sword fights. Like how many like things can we describe with revenge and sword fights? Holy crap. Headlamp's latest comparison is that it was quote unquote tonally inspired by Cowboy. Can we call Cowboy, like the creator of Cowboy Bebop, and apologize to him, please? On behalf of, like, someone owes that man an apology, and I doubt Leslie Headlamp's gonna give it. Fuck me. What? Tonally inspired by Cowboy Bebop. How? What? How is it a murder mystery when you know who the killer is? Yep. Princess Bride had those. Don't bring Princess Bride into this. Princess Bride is perfection. Belongs over there. Left alone. Not I feel like covering Princess Bride's ears with the very mention of it in the same room as the Acolyte. It's like an insult to art. It's like, there, Princess Bride. No, we're not comparing you or comparing it to you. You are safe. You are fine. Cover your ears. Do not allow this heresy to bleed into thine fucking eardrums. Oh my god. Okay. So I think that's good for the highlights for right now. We'll go back to them for the third brighter highlight. Lithiel. Alright, next thing I want to do is apply the washes. And actually, before I apply the washes to that, add a little bit more lead belcher. So no surprise, the show has a completely askew moral compass coming from the woman who was the assistant to Mr. Weinstein. Who could have seen that coming? Not me! Apparently nobody was working on it. I feel like the writers at no point were like, hey, Leslie, do you have some issues? What? Why? Why do you ask me that? Well, you know, there's just some stuff about the plot. If looked at it in a certain light, kind of feel eerily... Eerily what? Well, you know... Mr. Weinstein. Oh, can you look out that window? Why? Anyone else have any questions? Alright then. Get back to work, bitches. You could say it was inconceivable. You say that word a lot. I do not think it means what you think it means. Alright. The more I hear about it, inspirations, the more I drink to forget it. Good man. Good man. Wise. Very wise. I tell you this, like, its ruination of Anakin's story was pretty frustrating as well. It's like, especially if you were a fan of the Clone Wars cartoon and you were a fan of the prequels like I was growing up, it just sucks. Because you're there going like, can they not let this man have one fucking thing? Like, is this forbidden in some, like, law somewhere? So you gotta feel bad for Hayden Christensen, man. Like, they brought him back for Ahsoka and for the Obi-Wan show, and in both of those, they're utter garbage. And it sucks. It sucks, because the man had such a bad career after Star Wars. Like, if one at all. And it's just... Can the guy not catch a break? Now, granted, it's like, I'll never see any amount of money he's seen from, like, all this stuff, but still. The fuck? You bring him back to a role that kind of, I won't say ruined his life, but it's certainly after Star Wars, he didn't have much of a career, so something happened there. Something about that role was cursed a little bit. I purist, I do not like Filoni Clone Wars. I know I'm a snob. And you're allowed to be a snob, and I'm allowed to be correct when I say it's fucking great. Listen, I'm not going to defend Dave Filoni. I don't consider that man like a hero or anything. But in his time working on Clone Wars, and everyone else who worked on Clone Wars, that was Star Wars. I'm sorry, like, I'm not gonna... Like, a lot of people, like, who hate on the Disney stuff, like, granted, I do too. Like, I draw the line at Clone Wars. Because, first of all, that was still while Lucas controlled it. So, you can clearly feel that control is still present. That dream is still being held up. You don't feel that with Disney Star Wars at all. But, I mean, after all, he no longer controls it at that point. The Dave Filoni who worked on Star Wars, the Clone Wars, I won't say he was a different person, but he was the worst parts of himself that are apparent in the Disney stuff were kept in check by Lucas and the LucasArts team. That's for damn sure. But Clone Wars, I absolutely love the hell out of it. It's for me, Star Wars at its most impactful for me in my life was definitely growing up when I was watching the Clone Wars cartoon. And the stories that came with that, the military stories, and quite frankly, for a kid show at the time, that was pretty dark. Like, there were episodes where named characters you got to know throughout the episode or several episodes before fucking died. Like, straight up died. Hell, that early on, those rookie clones that we got to know from their training all the way to later seasons, we got to see all of them go from training to death throughout the series. It was a kid's show. And how did they get away with that? Well, they didn't show any blood, and they made sure that they were covered in armor when they got killed. So, you know, doesn't count, apparently. You gotta know someone paid the ESRB, well, not ESRB, no, that's the video game ratings board. The ratings board for, like, television and stuff. You gotta know someone got paid off of that. It's like, okay, this is a kid's show, right? Yeah. And you want it rated TV Y7. Yeah. You do realize that you just had an episode where a Jedi fought to his last breath after he got filled with blaster holes, which are akin to gunshots. And he died getting absolutely fucking blasted. Yeah? And you want me to approve this? Yes. Holds out credit card. And then he's just like that guy from Hogan's Heroes. It's like, I know nothing. I know nothing. This is perfectly okay. There's no blood. What are you talking about? This is inappropriate for children. I know not what you speak. And Nostalgia Vivek. The Clone Wars multimedia project that preceded the CGI show had really cool stuff like Severance Ton. Do you mean the 2003 thing that was animated in the same style as Samurai Jack? I think it was even done by the same people. Are you talking about that, or are you talking about something else? Karn says, I never got to watch Princess Bride. Wait a minute, we've watched it on the Discord server, you son of a bitch! I swear you were there when we watched it. I feel lied to right now. Clone Wars was super good, both the CGI and the 2003 versions. I agree with that, and I stand by my defense of the Clone Wars. Fucking love it. Stand by it to the day I die. I don't know so much about the stuff that they did later, like Bad Batch and that stuff. It was, like, for what I saw of that, it wasn't bad, but they clearly also kept the same vibe from Clone Wars, but Clone Wars. Proper. Gucci. That was good shit. Not with me. Alright, well, note to self, gonna have to fucking tie your ass down and watch Princess Bride. This is a crime, sir. Alright, one other thing I want to do before I apply the washes is I want to apply a gray to the nails of the little cape there. Then from there, I'm going to move on to the base of the model. Now the ultimate decision, power sword or power fist. Part of me really, like, for me, it depends. Is it a one-handed power sword? If so, then power fist. If it's a two-hander, you know? Fuck? I'm tapping like on a window. Weird. But yeah, if it's a two fucking hander power sword, like, you know, like a bastard sword, but power sword version, fuck yeah, going with that motherfucker. That is a sword that I would stand on top of a tank and say, bring me closer, I wish to hit them with my sword. It's like, sir, we have long-range cannons. I don't give a shit. And it wasn't a question. Go. My autism flips out at bastard sword. Really? Actually, that was a fun quote from the A Song of Ice and Fire book for Game of Thrones. Well, sorry, not the Song of Ice, the Game of Thrones book of Game of Thrones, which I believe was the first one. Because if I recall correctly, I think that's when Jon got his sword. For those who are not Game of Thrones fans, this is probably falling on deaf ears, but I know what I'm talking about. But yeah, if I recall correctly, in the book, he received the sword, and they said, a bastard sword for the bastard. You know, something like that. Which I thought was funny and appropriate. Just chain your sword to your wrist, and then you can use it as a ranged weapon. True. Go fucking, like, Ghost Rider style on it, you know? Whoosh. Never seen Aladdin? What is with you people? Coming in here with, like, injuring my soul. An Arabian night, an Arabian moon. Oh, God. I had a great childhood. I really hope my kids have a good childhood. But with all the new stuff coming out, probably not. Sadly. Okay, so just checking to see how this looks. Ah, yes, very pretty. For anyone wondering why the cape is purple, that is by request from the commissioner. My client, my buddy Caboose, wanted it to be a pimp cape. His words. Does that fit an Imperial Fist? If my client pays me enough, yes, it does. Anyone here seen A Fan with Too Much Time, Star Wars versus 40K? I have not seen that, actually. Kind of funny how the Black Templars took it from the World Eaters. Hey, don't say that out loud to them, because that'll get you shoved out a fucking airlock. But yes, that is where they got it. Fun fact, for those who don't know the lore behind that, Sanguinius, the original High Marshal of the Black Templars, he was like buddies with Karn, the Betrayer, and they did a lot of training exercise and sparring and duels with one another. They were both very acclaimed martial combatants. In fact, Sigismund. Did I say Sanguinius? Fuck me. I said that, didn't I? Names. Too close. Okay. Sigismund. My fucking bad. God damn it. Sigismund, yes. Sigismund and Karn were notable, accomplished combatants. Tourists, yeah, fuck off. Were noticeable combatants, and they trained alongside each other. And because of that, Sigismund picked up the World Eaters' practice of chaining their weapons to their arms so that they wouldn't lose them in battle. So, you know, they could wildly weave them around and swing them around like fucking psychopaths. And they wouldn't have to worry about, you know, in their flurry of doing that, letting go just for a brief second and it going flying. Which is a funny imagery, but which makes you wonder, it's like, that happened at some point, right? Like, the World Eaters at some point were in a battle, right? And they were swinging wildly with their freaking chain axes, like, ah! And one of them swung too high up, and he goes, whoops! Angron's in the back, and the chain axe just lands onto his shoulder. And he just briefly embeds in his shoulder. He looks at it, slowly. Looks back at the World Eater who let go. There's a blink, and he's already got that World Eater in a headlock and pops his fucking skull out, yanking out his spinal column. And all the World Eaters watching were like, note to self, do not swing weapon wildly. And they were like, how do we solve this problem? We want to swing wildly, but we can't risk it. It's like, oh, chain it to our fucking arms. That'll work, right? Yeah! Granted, there probably is an actual story where they did come to the conclusion of chaining their weapons to their arms, but that's funnier to think about. They did get it from the gladiatorial arena, yeah. I think my version of how they came to chaining their weapons was funnier, though. It's just one guy fucked up and it was... The consequences were too great. Headcanon accepted, indeed. Right here. Actually, I think I can put the head in now. Because I don't think I want to do anything else to the head slot. Nah, that's the dry fitting of the head. And dry fitting of the cape. Boom. I've got that drip. Ow. I've got that drip. Ow. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage. Pimp Evandor Garrius. He just comes out with that cape swinging. He's got the hat, you know, over the helmet. He's just followed by Slaneshi demons. What's up, my bitches? How did you get so good at painting? It's insanely good. Lots and lots and lots and lots of practice. I've been in the hobby since I was a little, well, 13 I guess isn't a little kid, but since I was a kid, you know, I was young, got into it, started learning painting models with Dan in his basement with a bunch of orc models, and from there just kind of painted, collected models, done it. It's just repetition, right? Like you do it enough times, you pick up enough techniques, word to mouth. I've watched some tutorials on YouTube over the years. You know, it just came with time. You know, you learn the techniques, you learn about this stuff, and it comes naturally after a while. It's like anything artistic or creative, right? You just got to do it and do it often, and then eventually you'll develop a skill in it. There are some people who will have like a natural talent for it, right? But most of the time, skill will always match talent and then supersede it. Talent, I think, has a level it can carry you to, but at some point you will have to put in the legwork and the practice and the effort to develop your talent into a proper skill higher up. Like a talent only takes you so far. It does have a definitive ceiling, in my opinion. Like there are people with talent and things that I've gotten into that were insanely good and better than me when they started, but because I did it longer, focused on it longer, I achieved the level where I was at their level, and then got better at it, at certain aspects of it than they ever did. That has happened. Like my sketching skill. There was someone I knew growing up. She was an amazing fucking sketch artist, and she blew you away. She had a natural talent for it, but she didn't practice a lot. She practiced her speed a lot, but she didn't practice the detailing or the shading as much. So though her line work was immaculate, I practiced my shading. I practiced my scaling, my biology, my anatomy of like everything I work. I practiced and I got better at it in certain aspects than her. Her line work will probably always be better than mine, but my shading, I actually do it. And I actually also bother to ink it. I color it. I went to levels she didn't really want or feel she needed to go. So imagine if she had taken that talent and put the same amount of like time and effort and skill into it, she probably would have blew me out of the water if she kept putting into like the legwork. But she didn't. She was just happy with the doodling. I wonder what she's up to these days. It's a lot of people I haven't kept in contact with. I was gonna imagine Disney's next horror show, the High Republic in Clone Wars style. Get chills just thinking about it. The High Republic in Clone War. Can you not utter such bullshit out loud, please? Do not give the Chaos Gods reasons to act. Please and thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I've been in the hobby for nearly 20 now. Oh, you've been in longer than me. But I've only been painting properly for about 4. Well, there you go. That's why. You've only been doing it for 4. I've been painting minis and on some level for 10 years now. Right? I've been in the hobby for almost 12, but I've been painting pretty consistently on a month-to-month basis, at the very least, for about 10 years. A decade of practicing a thing will result in better skill. Now, that being said, I don't consider myself at like an amazing level, right? Straka, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Much thank you. Ever read any of the new Rippaverse comic books? And if so, what do you think of them? Yes, I have both issues of ISOM, actually. Yeah, I have ISOM number 1 and ISOM number 2. So, as for what I think of them, I like them. I do. They are very reminiscent of like 90s comics, especially the ones I got into. I do like the aesthetic of the characters. The artwork is very, very, very good. The stories so far are pretty interesting. The only complaint I would have is, and it's not much of a complaint, is it's a tad derivative. The first issue was. I think the second issue cleaned that up quite a bit. I really like the story so far. It's, you know, is it going to be like in my top favorite comics of all time? Not yet, but I'm not going to write it off. Like, is it in my top 20? Almost. It is a solid comic. And like these aren't like old school, like, you know, thin comics either. These are borderline graphic novel comics. So, you know, you get quite a bit with picking them up. So I like them personally. I do. That's like without spoiling the story, by the way. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who does want to pick up ISOM. But yeah, for me, I've enjoyed both issue 1 and 2 of ISOM quite a bit. And when the worst you have to say about a thing is the tad derivative, that's not horrible, right? Especially not compared to a lot of things that are released these days. So, very, very minor criticism. I like it a lot. I think they're solid. I'll probably put them back on the shelf later. It's just finagling is a pain in my ass. I got your first minis when you were like 4. You were 4? Really? Did you eat them? I don't know, at that age, like, as much as that is a bit of a joke, did you? Like, you might have, because 4? Wow. I mean, I technically got my first miniature when I was like 8. I didn't realize what it was, though. Like, my uncle came over for Christmas, and he got, like, us some gifts, and he got me an Orc War Boss, but it was an old metal mini, and it was on all the pieces, and, like, an old thing. I think I still have that somewhere. But I didn't realize what it was. It just looked like little scrap metal parts to me, and I was like, thank you, Uncle. You know, when you open it up. But I didn't realize it was a miniature till, like, years later. By years later. I didn't even realize it when I got into 40K initially, because I didn't remember it, but I found it when I was like 18, when we were moving out of my childhood home, and I found it in a box, and I was like, wait a minute, this is an Orc War Boss. And then I remembered my uncle gifting it to me. So technically that was my first interaction with 40K, but I didn't even realize it, because I was 8, and I had no idea what the hell the thing was that he gave me. Excuse me. Lead ghouls, I was 4 or 5. My dad got me them because my brother was getting into it properly and I was jealous. Oh, okay. Bought my first minis approximately mid-90s. I think I was the first multi-part Marines you could get. Oh. Yeah, you guys got into it before me, that's for sure. I got into when I was 13, it was 2014, I think. So, yeah, by that age, it was 2014. So, back in 2014, which feels weird to say, especially if you're older than me, you probably feel like that's weird to say. It seems a surprising amount of people had 40K as their childhood. I mean, like, in my community, it's not weird because I'm a 40K channel, but I get it. I mean, but I get what you mean for the weirdness. I don't know, I'm gonna take this off. I get what you mean for the weirdness because it is a grimdark setting with like a lot of like ambiance. But when you think about it, like a lot of things that definitely weren't properly written to be for families and for kids and stuff. Like, who there were kid toys for Terminator Judgment Day, okay? Like, Hollywood knew that kids were watching fucking, like, R-rated films and were getting into that stuff. With their parents' permission or without. So, regardless, like, though it is weird to think about, and some of us might say, like, oh, there's a lot of irresponsible parents out there. I mean, like, a lot of our childhoods were filled with R-rated stuff, right? Like, how many people here have seen at least one of the Friday the 13th? Any of them. Any of the movies with Jason. Or Nightmare on Elm Street. And growing up, like, you knew somebody who, like went to Halloween as him, and you saw stuff like that, and you were, like, a fan of one of those. Like, how many kids got into Terminator? How many kids got into Alien and Predator? Right? All of these things are not made for kids. They're adult R-rated productions. But yet, almost all of us can attest that they were a part of our childhoods. One might argue that's why some of us are a little fucked up. But it's just a natural connection. Cayman says, I don't have a bastard sword per se, but I did find my gut sword bits I ordered off Etsy, so I'm going to go in that direction. Oh, nice. Very nice. I don't know, some kids just want to be metal as hell. What can I say? Yes, and those are the best fucking kids. I know, because I was fucking one of them, man. Heavy metal. To see the Jason movies, we had to know someone who knew someone so we could borrow the VHS tape of Jason. Oh, I miss VHS tapes. Is that weird to say? I don't know. I missed VHS tapes. Alright, real quick. Let me apply my washes to the cape. Alright. Not flush shade. Aggregate shade. Go earth shade for the bear pelt. I'm not sure what wash I want to apply to the cape itself. Caboose said he wanted both the inside and the outside to be the same shade of purple, so it's pure purple. So I don't know what would look good with purple. The depth. Sorry, I'm off camera while I'm doing this. Let me get it on camera here. That is one bad habit I gotta fix with these streams is I keep leaning off the fucking camera. I'm getting too close to little detailing. Oh, by the way, out of those watching, who here has seen my latest video? Because I asked this earlier, but I'm just wondering if there's like any other people who've joined since that I can refurbish the question to. VHS, I feel that. Do I know of a game called HeroScape? I am aware of that game. At least if it's the one I'm thinking of. You have it paused in a tab. Oh, okay. You have 300... Dude, the tab bloat. Chill out. I mean, I'm no one to judge. I had like 40 tabs open the other day, but 300? God damn. You catching up with the shiznit. Talk about a word that hasn't been used in fucking forever. I'll come back to this video. yeah, I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of that 100%. It's like, we're just gonna put this in another tab, you know? I'll come back to it. 40 tabs later. Later in song, smack Zigatron with a rolled up newspaper. Bad Zigatron. Bad. Too many tabs. Hopefully that gloss look will go away. And it should when it dries. This is not a gloss wash. So it shouldn't remain super shiny. Which one? Hold on. It's the one on the Space Marine 2 leak. To give you the exact title. Full Space Marine 2 game leaked online. Yeah. That one. I talk about the leak in that video. I've just posted some of my dad's old retweet minis in the open mic server. Oh, okay. Excuse me. Hold on, let me show this on stream real quick. Shut that down. Ah. Shoot me. Sorry for the gross burp there. On. Excuse me. So these are your dad's old minis? Rogue Trader Terror? Like, damn. Hold on. It's the other one, right? I can't make out. Oh no, I know, I recognize that one. That's pretty cool, man. Hey, let me know if he ever wants to separate with him. Obviously, I'm not encouraging that, but like, if that ever comes up, you know, I don't got a lot of money, but I'm willing to negotiate. I don't know, rogue trader stuff. I'm always interested in checking out and finding if I can ever get my hands on old school stuff like that. That for me is like a piece of history. That's so cool. Breaking news is, hey, Undead Nerd. Breaking news: the Spawn reboot is moving forward. You're in Iceland. You've been loving it. Wait, you're in Iceland. I've been loving it. Oh, did you move to Iceland, or are you just vacationing? If you're vacationing, hope you enjoy. If you moved there, hope it's good. If you have any questions about Iceland, talk to my buddy Nico, if he's still in the chat. He is an Icelandic person. Vacationing. Ah, okay. Well, hope you're enjoying your vacation. Summertime is best felt for that. I watched that one. Ah, okay. What do you guys think about that? The Ukrainian part, feel free not to comment on, but I'm curious what you guys think about the leaks, though. If any of you have seen it. Obviously, let's avoid talking spoilers for the plot. I didn't see too much of it, unfortunately, because the footage I was watching from a certain channel got taken down in the middle of me watching it, which I predicted in my very own video about it. I was like, hey, it's a matter of time. This shit's gonna be taken down. Yeah, the Focus Entertainment are gonna be busting ass around the clock looking for anyone uploading any footage about it. So, prior warning to anybody out there who's got the leak. If you share footage on it, they will take down your video. They will find it. They're constantly redoubling searches for it. So, yeah, just a little bit of friendly warning. A little bit of friendly warning. If you have yo-ho, me hearty yo-ho'd it, they will find you. I don't know if they're doing worse than just doing takedowns. I hope that's the worst they're doing, but they might do worse. So, prior fair warning. All right, there we go. Washers really add that depth. Tyranid stories are so fucking boring to me. Really? Well, if it helps, just like the first Space Marine game, it's supposed to have. This isn't a spoiler, by the way. This is publicly blocked out. The details of it we don't know, but it's part of the game is supposed to be dedicated to a Xenos threat, like the first Space Marine game, and then the second half, like the first Space Marine game, is dedicated to Chaos Space Marines of some kind. I saw a clip that looked like Thousand Suns. I wasn't sure if that was supposed to be the multiplayer, or if that's supposed to be a story part. So if it's story part, it's very weird, but Tyranid Invasion matched then, or mirrored then by a Tzeentchian Thousand Suns influence going on, that could be interesting, but odd, but not the oddest thing they could do. I think I'll go with Nolan for the purple and white. I don't know how that's going to look, though, so hopefully it doesn't look bad. That was an MP skin? An NPC. Oh, a multiplayer skin. Okay, so that clip I saw then wasn't indicative of the story time. So it's probably going to be Chaos Undivided then, would be my guess. I don't know if they're going to be going for a faction-specific CSM for the main story. No, I did not. What's in there? What? Have you already checked out the nerd store? Nexus and Reykjavik. Trying to be... One of these days, Nico's gonna get pissed at me, and he's gonna have like that moment from Wolfenstein and New Colossus where that Nazi is walking alongside those two KKK members, and they're like, Dankeschön, and he's like, stop it, you're butchering my beautiful language. He's gonna have that with me or Nathan when we're like trying to speak Icelandic. And normally I was doing a little bit, but I kind of was looking for subtle anyway on the cape. So that's good actually. There we are. Now we simply have to let the dry. Ah. Right, set that right there, delicately, sort of. No, we have story trailers and it shows Thousand Suns. Oh, okay, so it does show Thousand Suns. Now you're fucking confusing me, man. Causing me mental distress. Excuse me. Winter Prometheus was filmed. Oh, I didn't even know it was filmed in Iceland. Really? It's confirmed Thousand Suns. There is multiple planets, so I think it will be more separate than we think. Okay. If it's more Black Legion, I'll be sad. I mean, I wouldn't be sad if it was more Black Legion, but you know, it's less interesting than expanding. Then again, we're being forced to play fucking Ultramarines again, so you know, in one way that I absolutely prefer them to be a little bit more expansive and diverse with our options, they're not being. It's like we're playing Ultramarines again. Can we do anybody else, please? Don't get me wrong, I did want to know what happened with Captain Titus, but at the same time, it's like, this is one of those cases where I might have an unpopular opinion here, but I think I would have preferred it if we had some kind of recap of what happened to him. You know, maybe have the story about Deathwatch. What was so wrong with that, right? Like, why he was taken to Deathwatch. Why not have a story with him through Deathwatch? And if they absolutely felt that they didn't want to stick with Deathwatch as the primary protagonist of the story, have him die, and then pass the buck of Space Marine 2 onto a new protagonist. Like, there's nothing wrong with, like, okay, now we're playing Imperial Fists. Okay, cool, stick with that. It's all Space Marines. Give some of the other chapters some fucking love for once. Like, why is it the blueberries get the fucking majority? Nobody likes them. Well, that's not exactly true. But why? You know, show some love to somebody else for once. They already got all the fucking love. They already got the first game. Give us, like, Imperial Fists. Give us Blood Angels. Give us freaking Raven Guard. Anybody else for once. And the Death Guard would have... And if you're absolutely determined to have Titus as the main character, right? Why not fucking do Deathwatch? Like, that would be a great way to introduce some of the other freaking factions. It's like, hey, he's partners with a Fenrisian. He's partners with a freaking Imperial Fist. Another one's a Raven Guard. Another one's a Salamander. Have a mix, an eclectic bunch. I'm gonna be okay playing it and getting Ultra Berry Cooties, Asmo. The thing is, don't know if I'm gonna be playing it. Like, I'm waiting after. I'm not getting it day one, and I'm not pre-ordering it. I refuse. I absolutely refuse. Right now, after the footage I saw, I'm confident the game will be good. Like, as a gameplay loop, it'll be fun. Like, from what I saw, it looked pretty good in that department, I'll be honest. But in the story from, like, the segment I saw, like, the very beginning of it, it looked very solid there, too. My only hiccup is it's about, like, what we haven't seen. Is there elements that is like political pandering and ideological bootlicking, or is it going to be pure 40k and honest with it? Like, I want it to be that, and I'm hopeful that is the case. I mean, I've only heard good things from people who've yo-ho me hardy yo-ho'd it, but I'm going to wait till after launch. And Anthem burned me. Hey, Anthem burned me too. It's another one I pre-ordered. I didn't learn my lesson for a while. Cyberpunk, No Man's Sky. I pre-ordered Anthem. Although, to be fair with Anthem, I got the Origin thing, which I only paid $15. So, I saved money on that one for a bit of a pre-order, but still. I never pre-order, and Anthem burned me on playing things before waiting for friend reviews. Yeah, and thing is, I'm gonna figure a couple of my friends are gonna get it. I think one of them did pre-order it. I'll ask. It's just for me, I utterly staunchly refuse to get the game until I know it's not a piece of shit. Whether it's from a writing standpoint or from a gameplay standpoint. Gameplay so far looks like it'll be a safe bet. So really at this point, I'm just waiting for confirmation the story is actually 40k. If it's a 40k story proper, without any IRL politics being leaked in or being shoved in your face, then I'll get it. I will. Because at that point, I'm going to be seeing my dollars supporting something that is true 40k and not bullshit. But I'm not getting it until I know that. Speaking of, aren't you supposed to be in the Death Watch till you die, or do I have that wrong? No, no, I'm pretty sure you're right. Death Watch is for life. Pretty sure. So spoilers, I guess, real quick. No, I'm not gonna do spoilers. Just know that there's a technicality with that intro that could technically allow him to leave the Death Watch. While it's still being true that you're in till you die, if that gives you a hint. It's a very weird technicality. On a totally unrelated note, the crossing the Rubicon and that surgery to become a Primaris from a Firstborn, that technically is done after you've died. So like Ragnar Blackmane, right? He was disemboweled by fucking Gazkul, right? He was revived and reborn as a Primaris through the Rubicon surgery, which made him a Primaris. He was dead up to the point they did that. So there's something about that surgery that effectively fixes death. It's kind of like becoming a dreadnought, but not at the same time. Speaking of, nope, I read the same comment. So, but right now, I'm actually hopeful, though. Like, for a while there, I was genuinely thinking, okay, this game is going to be a piece of shit. We heard about the writer that got fired 2 years back, but still, what did they influence before they left? Like, there was a bunch of stuff that made me super nervous, and obviously with the Femstodes crap that happened from GW themselves, faith in 40k official sources and official stuff has dwindled massively. But this is an opportunity to kind of win that favor back a little bit, and hopefully it's something true to 40k and not what I fear it may be. Fingers crossed, but I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. But I am not getting the game until it is out, and I have heard from people I trust and reviewers I trust that say, hey, it's not politically charged. No IRL politics or political pandering or virtue signaling. And it's functional. I'll buy it then. Not till after. Alright, so I think I am good to go. Yeah, okay. It's in my library. I'll be reporting back when it drops. Please do. Please do. But until I hear it from a trusted source, I'm not touching it. I got burnt from too many other things. I will patiently wait. All right, so got the first highlight done for the most part. Hold on, I want to do that real quick. Wait, no. No. Nope. Haggards. Page job looking pretty righteous, my man. Thank you much, Mr. Bernal. Thank you very much. Yep, I'm very proud of my painting projects. Yeah, and plus, you know, this is for a client, you know. A friend of mine has commissioned me for it. They're paying me. So, gotta give it my best effort. Gotta give it my best effort. Gotta make it look like crisp and beautiful. Gotta look pristine. You know? I mean, for one of my own projects, I did this Mauler Fiend. And this is all painting, by the way. This is not a decal. Yeah, this is how I painted my own Mauler Fiend. This is for me. This isn't even a commission. Vivek, we were trying to avoid spoilers, my guy. We were trying to avoid spoilers, just saying. There's the reason I didn't go into that in direct relation and detail. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Okay, Vivek, though. Not everybody reads White Dwarf. In fact, I would argue the majority of us here don't. I know I don't. I haven't given a shit about White Dwarf in years. So, that's Sonata. But the trailers, I mean, I don't remember that part of the trailers. I've seen several of the story trailers. I don't remember that specific detail being leaked. Alright, so this guy's supposed to be Iron Warriors, which technically makes the paint job on him easy, because it's just a matter of finding the right shit. No, not you, not you. That's Iron Hands. I know I have an Iron Warriors metallic somewhere. It doesn't really matter. I can quickly make one. And all it is lead belcher and a little bit of black. Actually, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to cheat a little bit. We're going to paint in black, and then I'm just going to do a dry brush. Of lead belcher, probably, to be honest. Give him that metallic look. Titus was in stasis or something in that Inquisitor's basement for about 100 years or so. I didn't even know that from the leaks I saw. That's insane. What, Titus being in stasis, or the fact that I don't collect or read White Dwarf? Because if it's that, why is that insane? White Dwarf hasn't been interesting in years. Especially with the latest crap. And also, Vivek, you're assuming that the average person is, like, researching the game. Most people aren't researching it. They're actually actively avoiding researching it because they want to be surprised. And granted, those are the people who are planning on getting it day one, and very few of those people, I think, are watching me right now, but still. You gotta be careful with this. For some people, it still counts as a spoiler because it's something that they didn't want to know. They wanted the game to tell them it, not promotional material, not any of that stuff. You gotta remember, some people like to be surprised. Okay, granted, so you are including a spoiler here. My guy. Gotta put you on a fucking leash. Put Vivek on the leash. She's like, ah. It's like, back, you fiend. You'll get a Game Informer on the Space Marine game in a second. Back. Actually, is Game Informer still a thing? I don't even know. Which might have been talked about on Warhammer Community too, but I can't say for certain. I do not know. All I can tell you is I'm pretty sure most people are trying to avoid spoilers if you're planning on getting it day one. If you're not planning on getting it day one like me, you probably don't. Well, it's not necessarily you don't care, but you're less worried about it. Probably. That's just me, though. Looks like that converts to rubble right there, so that's not part of him. Okay. So let that dry for a second. You personally have not seen any story leaks from the 17 Sailors? I've seen one, but it wasn't... It's pretty early on in the game, but I've seen one. And I've also seen the first hour of the game before the footage I was watching was taken down. So I've seen that much. But from what I've been informed by one Yo-Ho Me Hearty Yo-Ho is yeah, it was something that happens like at like the early game, mid game mark. It's nothing bad, but it's nothing great either. It's like it's kind of a non thing. Like it doesn't tell me whether it's worth getting one way or the other. Anthem was my last. We'll never do it again. Hey, you shouldn't pre-order. And granted, I'm with you there, man. Like Anthem bit me in the ass too. What finally taught me my lesson was Cyberpunk. I finally learned my lesson with that one. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. It's the only sad part is that it had to be the straw that broke the camel's back. Ugh, I pre-ordered all the way up to that point. There we go. Give that a second. Nico's like, I remember my first pre-order. It was many a yonder year ago. Cyberpunk 2077 for the PS4. Yeah. Oh, for the P. Oh, oof. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I'm just so sorry. That's all I could say. Sorry. Oof. Never touched Anthem. It's not worth touching now, and in fact, I think it's gone. Correct me if I'm wrong for anybody who's keeping up with it, but last thing I heard of it is it wasn't doing very good. Anthem was so funny. Anyone with brain could have seen that one coming. Fuck you, first of all. Second of all, how? Like, that was before, like, it had become common to see AAA fuck people over. It was from BioWare. Like, the trailers all looked really good. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I did not see how bad that was going to be coming at all. Luckily, I didn't brick my PS4, but buy the Emperor and never pre-order again. Yep. Cyberpunk was pretty bad for me too, but I was on PC at least. I still trusted BioWare, I guess. Yeah, that was kind of my mistake too. The trailers looked too good, and they promised a fuck ton, like way too much. Yeah, but again, this was before that was becoming more and more common. A lot of studios made lofty promises before that, and mostly stuck to their promises with just some minor shortages. Anthem was, I won't say it was one of the first, it wasn't like the first for sure, but it was still in the early days when like games coming out with lofty promises and lofty like ideals and stuff were coming out as utter pieces of shit. But what made it believable as for the promises and for what it was pitching was that it was BioWare. Like, these were the people behind KOTOR, for Christ's sake. Like, there was plenty of reason to believe it wasn't utter bullshit at the time. Now we have track record to look upon, and also hindsight being 2020, all that. I'm sorry. Like, I think you're acting with hindsight, Karn. In my opinion. In my humble opinion. Trailers look too... sorry, nothing of that would have ever worked for the PlayStation 4. I don't necessarily think it was beyond the PlayStation 4. Granted, there was some things that they promised. It was one of those things where it's like, not everything they promised was the ideal or made sense, but there was plenty there that they still could do out of the lofty promises. Turns out they didn't do even a fraction of it, but again, hindsight being 2020. People also got burned with the Far Cry 3 trailer that looked way too good, and the game also got nerfed down. For me, I wasn't privy to that. Like, I like the Far Cry games, but I don't remember ever being like hyped for Far Cry 3 or Far Cry 4 or any of the Far Crys. The only Far Cry I ever like was anticipating and was like part of the crowd waiting for it was, I want to say, Far Cry 5, I think. Yeah, that was Far Cry 5. And even then, I saw by that point, Ubisoft's reputation started to kind of set in for their bullshit. So, but I had my hesitations, but I was kind of anticipating it, though. I was like, yeah, this one looks unique, and could be fun. Alright, so now I think I can dry brush. Gotta do a couple things, though, to protect the miniature. Hopefully this will be enough to do just that. Yeah, so I'm just giving him a little skirt here, if it'll stay, in the hopes of avoiding the dry brush hitting our good man. Hold, please. Wish I had some of my tape. Where's my dry brush? There's a dry brush. That's not the dry brush I want. might be the one I have to go with, because the other ones are bigger. Wait, no. There we are. Come to Papa. Oh, where's my dry pellet? It's around here somewhere. There it is. Yes. Come to Papa. Thank you. I'm getting added. Oh, what the fuck? Okay. Oh, oh, ho, 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 ho. Okay. Okay. That's a lot. I'm not gonna address that. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Not yet, anyway. Holy shit. Oh my god. I got added in this. Why? Why is it so many pages? Sorry. I'm not, oh god. Okay. Okay. Back on track. Hey, chat, have you ever been added in something and then you see like a document and you're just like, holy shit. And you don't know what to do. You don't know what to do. That just happened to me. One of those things where you're like, a part of you is like, I want to get involved, but another part of you is like, maybe just watch the storm for once. What happened? I'll tell you about it later. Yeah, it's not something I'm bringing up on stream, but looks like someone's about to get in some extra drama, and for once it's, well, not I say for once, it's not me, but someone else is. Holy shit! All right, so let's see if we can do this without. All right, so this is a pretty common technique for anyone curious. Yeah, you draw. So this is how you like achieve a metallic effect, but you still have like want that like blackened metal feel. It's a subtle effect, but I think it helps to sell like the burned feel. I will not confirm or deny an archive drop. It's spicy, though. I better end the stream before I... So, I'm gonna finish this guy up tonight. I'm gonna do it off stream. Cause I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. Not completely, just for now. So yeah, sorry to end kind of abruptly here before finishing this guy. That was the intent to do it on stream, but I will do it later. Hopefully you guys... Well, I'm going to try and finish him tonight off stream. But I'll see you guys for the next stream or video, what I do next. Hopefully you guys are keeping your eyes on the channel. Love you guys. Hope you guys all have an amazing week. And if I don't see you soon, hope you all have a wonderful time. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.